Welcome soulmates to Joannis Academy. We're going to be making this beautiful gown that you're seeing now. So let's get right into the class. So I'm marking the vertical measurement from shoulder to bust line, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and shoulder to hip line. Okay, every vertical measurement from shoulder to the length of the blouse. That is what we marked here. And then I'm going to be marking my neckline depth. We're using the depth for the front of 3 inches, and we're going to be marking our shoulder measurement. After the neckline depth, shoulder measurement, we're using 7.5, that is 15 inches for our shoulder, and we're going to be dropping down the shoulder by 1.5. Okay, you can as well do 1 inch. And the neckline width, the first one was the depth. This is the width of 3 inches, and we're going to be connecting it to the shoulder drop down like so. Okay, now from the shoulder drop down, I'm going to be marking my armhole depth of 8 inches. Armhole depth of 8 inches. So just want to be sure it is accurate so that we can rule the line across. I hope you understand just the normal thing that you know how to do. So I'm going to be marking it across like so, and then connect it to the shoulder line on a straight line. To the shoulder drop down, we're connecting it on a straight line. Okay, so that is our armhole depth, right? Then I'm going to be connecting the lines that I've marked before, my bust line there, my under bust line. I'm going to be marking the next one, waistline and the hip line. So for the armhole curve, I'm going to be going up by 3 inches and then go in by half an inch or 3/4 of an inch, half an inch or 3/4 of an inch, and connect it just the same way you're seeing it here, right? Then at this armhole line, I'm going to take my bust circumference, my bust divide by 4, bust divide by 4. I'm marking it on the armhole line. The line you have there is the armhole line. Now your armhole line and your bust line may possibly not be on the same line, okay? Different people have different ways of cutting their fabric. So I've connected it. Here is my armhole line. Then I have my bust line, like I said before, under bust, the actual waistline, and the waistline where the skirt is going to be joined. We came down by 2 inches so that the waist will look slimmer. The corset is usually fine when the waistline is not on the actual waistline. So I'll be curving my neckline, and then the other things we're going to be doing is bust circumference, under bust circumference, waist circumference. We'll mark them, dividing it by 4, and I'm going to be connecting them together. We've not taken the dart line or whatever. We just divided every measurement by 4, the horizontal measurements, and we're dividing it by 4 and marking them on a straight line or connecting the dots together. Okay, so I just connected it together down to the blouse length. Of course, I said we're going to be joining 2 inches below the waistline, but I took the hip line so that we can use it to get the circumference for where the skirt is going to be joined. Because where the skirt 2 inches below the actual waistline and where it's going to be joined might not actually be the same circumference. So next is to mark our bust span measurement, nipple to nipple measurement, from bust line down to the end of the marking. And of course the blouse is going to have a basque. So
So
the
after
essence
coming down by
for
2 inches,
the
I decided
allowance
that
below
it
down to
was
the
still
hip
high. I
line
need to
until we
push it
get where
down a
it's going
bit.
to stop.
Okay, so
Okay.
I have to go down again by extra 2 inches. That's 4 inches from the actual waistline, so that the waist can have a final look, can be slimmer. This the length is quite down, not at the waistline. So after then, you can now mark the length where you want the blouse or the top to stop, where you're going to be curving it to. Okay, so you mark it and then connect it to where you want it to be. Now at the under bust line, I'm going to take away my darts. I need to tighten this part very well. So I took 1 inch on both sides. You can do 1.5. You can do 0.75, but here I marked 1 inch on both sides, and that is my dart. So I'm going to connect it to the that leg below. Okay, I'll connect the darts to the dart legs below. You can see the way it is. So here is the depth of the neckline that I want, where I want my neckline to stop, right? Even though it's a shoulder, there's a neckline. So this is where the neckline is going to be, and that is where I'm going to be marking 1/2 inch from the CF. I'm going to mark 1/2 inch so that I can connect the cup from this 1/2 inch. Looking at the style, you understand what I'm talking about. This is just how to make a cupped bustier or a cupped corset. So I'll use my cuff to connect the darts. This is the dart from bust point to under bust. Okay, bust point to under bust. You need to curve it very well, even though it's not going to be too curvy, but then it has to be curved to avoid pointed edges. Now from the under bust, I'm going to connect to the 1/2 inch that I marked, stopping at the bust line. You can see the way it is here. So this is taking a very nice shape. So at this other parts, I'm just going to cut it across, no more shaping. We are not going to be having cup on that part. Okay, something that will extend to the back. If you look at the design very well. And at the upper part too, we are not going to be tightening the upper part since it's just a shoulder blouse. So I'm going to form the neckline that I want, and I'll stop it at the 1/2 inch. Okay, so you too can design the type of neckline that you want. This is just what I need, showing you how I made my dress. Okay, so whatever you have as your tightening, your under bust tightening, you're going to add it back to the measurement so that you don't run shortage after cutting out. Even at the waistline, whatever you measured, you're going to be adding it back to your measurement because you've taken part of your measurement away. I hope this is understood. So I'll be connecting the dots together, connecting the sides the way you're seeing it. Okay, so you just have to be careful connecting it together so that it gives you exactly what you want. One thing that will help you is knowing how to make use of the curve. Okay, all the parts will not be applicable at all the time. So here from the new waistline, I'm connecting to the length of my top. Like I've said before, whatever you take out, you add it back. This is not a sewing allowance. Sewing allowance is going to come when we're drafting cotton on the fabric. So here is the back. the back measurements, the waistline, the where the top is going to be coming from, all are going to be on the same line. Then draw the length of the blouse for the back and connect it. I'll prefer you use a very straight line on this, a very straight line, so that it becomes very sharp. But mine is looking like a curve, even though I later try to make it straight. Okay, so once you have your back pattern, everything you can think of for the back, the darts, the armhole, and all that. It's just what we did in the front, except the under bust. Every other thing is just the same. Okay, so this is the cutting of the front. You're going to cut the cup area straight the way it is, no cutting of cup specially. So I'm going to remove the darts because I don't want the front to have a dart line, so I'll be closing up the darts. I'll be closing it up, make it straight and close it up, because I don't want to have a dart line. So illustrating with the paper, this is how I'm going to fit this upper part into the lower part. You can see that we did not cut away the dart for the upper part. Okay, we did not cut it away, so we're just going to add it, fold it and add. Now the back and the front under bust is just going to be the same, because both of them are going to be on the same line. Okay, the back this time has an under bust, they're going to be on the same line. So for this, I'm going to hold the dart. You can decide to hold it whichever way. And the lower part for the back, I also decided to close the darts. I will close it very soon. This is just me showing you the way it came out, right? Thank you.